It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, a beautiful day for my gamers. Would you be one? Could you be one? It's out about thunder, but don't despair. This colony's breeding great robbers. Would you be one? Could you be one? If the 80% mortality rate works for you, for a few bucks a month you can sign up and have the Hobbs kill you. So let's make the most of another Sunday. Brew up some coffee and play it my way. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? Won't you be my gamers? Won't you please, please won't you be my gamers?
Hey everybody, welcome to Mr. Hobbs's Gamerhood. I am your host, Jason Hobbs, and this is the pre-show for episode number 68 of Hobbs and Friends, and I have my good buddy as a guest, Edwin Nagy. Edwin, how's it going, bud?
Going great. How you doing?
I know I'd be doing better, but okay, your camera wasn't moving for a second. Nice. So, we do have some viewers. I don't know if they all started at once or what, but welcome to the pre-show, everybody. If anyone has any questions or anything you want to talk about Edwin briefly, you're going to hear this introduction again when the actual show starts. But Edwin is probably most known these days for being on the Midderlands and a 5e translator for a lot of Frog God Games stuff. Right, Edwin?
Yeah, mostly I am working with Frog God these days. That is true.
Nice. So, why don't, before we get the show started, why don't you talk for a minute or two and tell everybody who you are?
All right.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
That was me.
Okay.
Yeah,
That sure was.
I don't know.
So, are we going to keep talking, or do you want me to talk?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm Edwin. I guess we're really talking gaming here, so I'll stick to that. I work for Frog God Games, or I'm a partner with Frog God Games, and I do most of their 5e quality control and 5e conversion and some of the editing and some project management for them. I've also done 5e conversion for a number of our old school buddies around the park here, Kevin Watson, Greg Gillespie, and probably should mention a few others as long as we're doing that. But I won't. And no, I actually one of the older pieces was working with Glenn at Monkey Blood for Demon Stones. So I did that was actually a Swords and Wizardry translation from, I think it was from Pathfinder to Swords and Wizardry. So I started actually doing things with Swords and Wizardry and 5e, so that was kind of fun. I think that's probably pretty good. Oh, and I worked with Zach on some of his lesser known stuff. A little bit of, I guess, almost post-production editing for Whisper and Venom, and then co-author with him on Death and Taxes and 5e translation for Death and Taxes, and then some small modules with him. And we're actually getting ready to do a 5e version of Whisper and Venom soon. It's in progress, so yeah. Well, the work is happening. It's a question of when we get the publication part put together. But I think that's going to be fun
later, because I'm really curious of what that entails. I mean, I think I've talked to you about it, just me being curious and saying, what the heck does that mean? But I think that's going to be one of the main topics that we're going to talk about today, because I think people have an opinion on that, and I'd be curious to hear what yours is.
Yeah, no, I have a couple.
I'm sure you do, man.
They go back and forth. It's not always the same opinion, but
that's good. That's good. I like that, because that's the kind of person I am. I'm always like reconsidering things and wondering if it's the right one or the wrong one and what I should do about that. But
to quote a very deep thinker in the gaming world, it depends.
Oh goodness God! Don't even give him that much, please.
Hey, I didn't give him a name. I did not give him a name.
But there are those people who will know who you're talking about, and it makes me want to throw up in the back of my mouth a little bit. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
No, it's mutual. They love you too.
That's true. That's true. All right, man. So we got Captain Patriot out there who's talking to us, but the rest of the people seem to be lurking at this moment. So I don't know. Maybe
I do inspire that.
Oh goodness!
I
Lurking?
didn't tell you that ahead of time. Yeah, I inspire lurkers.
Lurking.
Yep.
I like that. Oh my god! You know what? I went through and changed all this stuff because I couldn't get this one camera to work, and now I look up and I don't know why, but it's working.
Well, something you did must have worked.
Yeah, but it's too late now. I can't do anything with it because I got rid of it on the whole Twitch. I took it off everywhere to go to this other camera because it wasn't working. So yeah, the fun stuff, man. You don't even get involved in this technology part usually. I know. So.
Well, I actually been teaching remotely for the last 6 weeks. So I've been making videos and teaching through Zoom, and I've been doing a lot of this technology crap for the last eight weeks or so.
All right. So if everyone's just going to be flowers on the wall in the chat room, we might as well do the episode.
All right.
I'm going to see if recording works. Nope. Something's wrong with my settings in OBS that recording doesn't work, and I don't know why, guys. I don't know. But it doesn't matter because I can just upload the thing straight across, so that doesn't matter. Yeah, so I guess you get to hear me blather on again about introducing you, but we'll get to talk about...
Did you want to get the recording going on the audio?
Yeah, I should do that. I have to do that. All right, yeah, let me find that. Where's that at? Nope. Here it is. All righty. So, yeah, we might as well just start. So, like usual, I don't know if you remember, I'll blather on for 30 seconds or something and then introduce you, and then we'll just go from there and have a conversation. I'll try to make it around 40 minutes-ish, and then we'll have a post-show for anyone who's still interested in that. And maybe we'll come up with a question that we'll talk to and then give some people some content for YouTube or something. If not, we don't. If we do, we do. It doesn't really matter. Alrighty. So yeah, I think I'm going to start. Any last words?
Nope.
All right. So I am going to start recording. Hey everybody, welcome to Hobbs and Friends. I am your host, as always, Jason Hobbs, and today I have a wonderful repeat guest. I know somebody who blew up all the Twitters and all the social medias when he was on. I don't know if that's true, but that's what I'm saying. Regardless, he is known as an author and a translator. He has done Return from Dragonmount, which I know all of you guys have heard about before, as well as some writing on Midderlands. And he comes from the lesser known corner of the industry. No other than Edwin Nagy. I looked it up, Edwin.
Hey, how's it going?
I'm great, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing really well. Thanks for having me on. This is great.
My pleasure. You know what episode you were on before?
I do not.
I don't either. I was going to look it up, but I forgot. So anybody out there who can send me
27.
What? Is that just a guess, or do you know that?
I'm just making numbers up.
All right, I'm going to write that down. I was going to say, if anyone can tweet me that in the next 24 hours, we'll send you a prize. All right, anyhow, so Edwin, thank you so much for being on the show. And normally we talk about how we know each other, but I'm pretty sure most of the people in episode 27 would have heard of that. We played some games at quite a few conventions, and we met on the pluses I saw you wrote on here. Is that accurate?
Well, you wrote it.
Oh shit!
I think.
Oh
yeah.
Maybe that was from last interview.
That was probably the previous person.
Rob.
We have. Yeah, I mean, I was on Google Plus, but I've never been a big social media hangout person. So I think I think we have communicated on that, but it's certainly not how we met.
No. I think it was at conventions, like at Gary Con was the first one, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
When you taught me exactly why I don't play in games on Sundays at cons.
Well, and hopefully at some point I taught you why you don't play in games that I run, apparently.
No, that's not true, because I still do that. Which reminds me of the time that we cajoled you into running a game at at Gamehole Con when the actual GM didn't show up. Do you remember?
Yep. I do. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, how did that happen? Oh. No kidding. All right, so let's move past that and let's go right into our weekly gaming briefly. Well, I haven't done a episode in over a month, so we might have a lot of stuff, but I'll start with you, Edwin. Go ahead, buddy.
All right. Well, just today I played in a game of Old School Essentials with James Holloway, who's the Monster Man podcaster. This is I played in a game with him a while ago, and we're just starting up a new adventure with the same characters, and it is a hoot. We are a bunch of complete losers and scoundrels. I have a -2 mod on my constitution, so I think I'm 3rd level with 4 hit points, or maybe 3 hit points or something. And it's been a good game. I just have to stay out of any sort of fighting. On Monday, which I guess was just last night, I started our newest Skype of Cthulhu game. We are playing Horror's Heart, which I have to say very carefully. And I am reprising there too a character that I think she's now in her 3rd or maybe even her 4th adventure of Call of Cthulhu, which is pretty amazing. So she's going a little bit bat crazy. And then I have 2 regular games, a home game where I am playing in Ghosts of Saltmarsh, and then an online game. I guess they're both online these days, but playing in Storm King's Thunder. Both of those are 5e games that and I'm just playing and having a good time.
So
what about you?
I have to call Shens on one of those things, because didn't you just say that you're reprising a role in Call of Cthulhu?
Yeah, it's a character that is going through multiple scenarios.
You must have had a really shitty GM, because I heard that your character either dies or go insane in every one of those games.
Well, sometimes you hear wrong.
I'm talking crap, because
we definitely lost.
Go ahead.
We definitely lost characters in each of the games that she played in. She is definitely much lower insanity and more paranoid and nervous about the world than she was at the beginning of the first scenario, where she was a bright-eyed. She had just come to Arkham to become a professor, but the person who was going to hire her was murdered, I think, found dead, and things have not gone well for her since then.
That is crazy. I was just saying that I've played in a game with you, so I'm well aware that my character survived and didn't go insane in that game. So,
yep.
There's no.
No, I think. No, I think that's a bit of an over. I mean, both of those things can be super fun, but I think that there is certainly fun to be had elsewhere with Call of Cthulhu.
Awesome, man. All right, so what have I been doing? So I haven't ran any Calmata lately. It seems like every time we were trying to do that on Monday night, and I was gassed for the week, so that wasn't happening. I just wrapped up an OSE short little jaunt with Zach Pierce that he calls Lands of Orm, and I've been tweeting about that game, so probably most of the listeners know that my character is completely full of crap and thinks all of his plans are fantastic, when in fact they are garbage, but somehow through lucky rolls we have survived. And awesome. Zach is not messing around either. That guy, where the dice lay, so there's no death saves, no shield sundering. In OSE, that's a pretty deadly game, and it wasn't max hit points, so my fighter had 4 hit points. And
we got that in common.
And survived. The Days of Lyncium game wrapped up, which is me using Spell Sword Studios Evils of Ilmire. I put it into my Emergent Empires, and it was pretty much a TPK. No spoilers, hopefully, but they didn't do good in the Grottos of the Fishmen. And
that OSR game, that's the game where all the characters die, right?
Sometimes.
That's what I've heard. That's what I've heard about OSR, is that if you play, that your character's going to die. Like that's...
Well, some people say Call of Cthulhu is OSR, so I don't know.
That's true. That is true.
Anyhow, that was fun, and I would tell everyone to go check out Evils of Ilmire. We had a great fun with that. 20 sessions probably, and Hawk or Sean P. Kelly probably get worst player of the campaign, which wouldn't surprise anyone. They're battling for it, I'm sure. It was fun. So we replaced that game, Days of Lyncium, with Chronicle of the Cursed Axe, which is a new campaign using Low Fantasy Gaming on Sunday mornings at the crack of dawn. We just had our session 0 and session 1. Which one? Low Fantasy Gaming or Crack of Dawn or Chronicle of the Cursed Axe?
Chronicle of the Cursed Axe. I like
that one too. There was no Cursed Axe in the game yet, but I just really like the name.
Immersion storytelling. If you make the title, eventually they're going to start looking for axes just because of the title.
It is going to happen, right? I also have my open table my open table West Marches game, the Midlands, that we're going to play on Saturday. And a lot of people have been joining the Discord to get into that game, so they're coming from the Low Fantasy Gaming Discord, joining in with that and becoming patrons and playing in that game. So I should also mention we finished up our Call of Cthulhu game with Edwin running, which we lost a few characters, but mostly Curtis Takahashi.
Right.
And that was fun.
But I learned something valuable during that game.
What's that?
That I run all of my games the same.
Oh, who told you that?
Well, it was this guy who does this podcast. He's got some friends. He gets together with him now and then. I think it's true.
It is kind of true. They feel similar, but I don't think that's bad. And I think
no. It's definitely there's definitely a style that lies over the top of the rules and the genre.
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily mean setting or genre. System. None of the things seem to matter. Right. It's just kind of a feel on the way you tell stories. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. It was actually interesting to hear and think about.
I have Delta Green on Thursdays, ran by Sean P. Kelly, actually.
Oh, yeah.
And some other BSers from the podcast that shall not be named, Gaming and BS, are in that game. We're playing Song of a Silent Room. I don't know what the hell we're playing. It's something that he's running in. The cool thing about Delta Green is this: you don't have to necessarily fall into that trap with most horror games where you have to metagame this sounds scary, there's something in the basement, but we're just going to wander down there anyway. In Delta Green, you're like, hey, I know something's screwed up here, but I'm doing it anyway, because it's my job, or because that particular motivation that I took in character creation that makes me want to go down and do it. So
that's actually one of the nice things about having this character in her third or fourth scenario for Call of Cthulhu is that I no longer have to pretend that there's not weird shit in the world. Right. Because for me, that's one of the harder things of oh no, really? There's something strange happening? Whereas now she's expecting strange stuff to happen. And that's actually a nice change in role playing.
Yeah, I bet. I like, that's one of the things that I liked about the Delta Green game, because it was I can say, oh, this poltergeist or whatever this entity is messing with our minds. Let's put our guns away so we don't kill each other, but we still have to keep going, right?
We still kill each other.
Yeah, we're still gonna end up killing each other, but whatever. Maybe not.
Maybe not.
And I'm still playing a lot of second edition AD&D on the Dungeon Musings YouTube channel. We are playing Legacy of the Crystal Shard. We're going through that campaign, which was like the D&D Next playtest, which is kind of interesting because I think they kind of reprised some of the stuff in the new D&D book, right? Because that's set in the 10 towns and in that area of the Icewind Dale. Yep. And so I think I'm trying to stay away from it because I want to play it. And then we're playing Night Below. We're on tomorrow will be session 68, I think, of that campaign. Wow. Yeah, he can run some. Well, we were playing it like twice a week, 2 hours on Wednesday and 4 hours on Friday. So if we get enough people, you can play some serious sessions when you're playing it twice a week.
Yeah.
So, and I also on the Dungeon Musing, we did a bunch of charity games for his charity, which I've talked about on this podcast before. And one of them I played was The Expanse, which was pretty fun. Have you ever played that?
I have not.
I love the show The Expanse, but I was super excited to play a belter so I could do my Belta accent. Have you ever seen The Expanse?
No.
All right, screw you later, Edwin. That was my opportunity to do my Belta accent.
I don't know. I have no idea. Yeah, I don't know about anything. Don't worry about it.
Dang it. All right, so let's wrap up this introduction. I got to check and see how long we've been babbling on here. Oh my God, 13 minutes. All right, so Edwin, everything about you ready for that?
I'm totally ready.
Go for it, brother.
So I have a habit of getting into things a little bit over my head, and one of the things I was thinking about that is related to that is that in college I did a lot of sound engineering to help supplement my income for concerts and so forth, but I am pretty much tone deaf.
Oh my goodness.
Yep.
How did that
work
then?
I was doing it by the needles, so to speak.
Oh, that's cool.
Yep.
Oh, nice. All right, so I want to talk briefly about something. Whoa, what the heck? Goodness gracious. I want to talk briefly about something I screeded about today. It's kind of serious, and it deals with the struggle of depression, and one of my old gaming buddies who lost his battle in the struggle with depression and took his own life on September 29th. My man Kyle Kofoid, also known as Top Cap Fan, who I used to play a lot of play-by-posts games on Hero Central with. I just wanted to say that I hope you are I hope you're at peace, man. And for everyone else, I want you all to realize how far-reaching suicide is. I mean, I'm a guy who knew him for the briefest amount of his 52 years, but it still affects me that far away. So how much would it affect family members, his surviving children, his wife, his parents, co-workers, farther family? Everything is it's definitely a huge decision, and I would just try and strive to get everyone to just give yourself 5 more minutes, or like my buddy Ray Case used to tell me when I would call him and be all crazy and on the brink of something terrible, and he would just say, go to sleep, and then tomorrow maybe everything will be okay. And maybe it isn't tomorrow, maybe it's the next day or the next day, but it will be okay. I believe that. So Kyle, here's to you, buddy. All right, Edwin, I didn't want to get too... I told you it would be sad, but...
yeah, no, it's good, though.
It's important to me, and I really wanted to let people know that
keep life real.
That's right. So stay alive, people. Okay, so we have Edwin here as an expert, guys. This is our opportunity to talk to an expert about translating OSR modules, settings, characters, you name it. This guy's done it. He is translating OSR stuff to 5e stuff. So first of all, why don't you talk about your Kickstarter, and we will go from there.
Awesome. Yeah. So I'm super excited because I was so Glenn Seal, Monkey Blood Studios, Monkey Blood Design Publishing, had me work with him on the Midderlands as a co-author several years ago, and that was a really great experience. He is a super creative, funny guy, and Frog God and Monkey Blood got together because Zach and I said we really want to do 5e for Midderlands, and so we got with Glenn and got him to make some new art and some new maps, and I did the 5e conversion on Midderlands, and that is now on Kickstarter for another 2 weeks, so until middle October. So get this thing out there quickly, and it's funded, which is great, but we have several stretch goals that of course we're excited for. So this is a setting guide and bestiary that is a green and gritty, grim version of the Midlands of England, where he is from, and it brings together some sort of twisted tentacle horror stuff and some political satire and some quirky British humor, and so it's just a real fun project. I don't know, when I was working through the editing and the 5e translation, I kept finding myself laughing, as you know, this is stuff I've read. Some of it I even wrote years ago, and I don't even remember writing it, but just stuff from years ago that is still cracks me up. And then I keep finding new things in the art also, because Glenn just does some really nice subtle pieces that you don't notice right away. So anyway, yeah, so and the 5e translation for that is done. It's actually the layout is done. We are in great shape on that book. I'm super excited to see it in my hands, physical copy.
So how you said there's more art? He's doing new art for the 5e version?
He did. Yep, he added some new art, and he colorized his own art. Some of his own art he added color to, and then he made some new art pieces also.
Do we have more mud cow pictures, or?
So we actually have a mud cow in the book. So the mud cow was mentioned, but it was not statted out. So we actually have the mud cow statted out now in the Midderlands. The Midderlands 5e book. One of the new things it has is the mud cow.
I know all of you mud cow fans out there are clapping right now. I'll do it for you, but so how different is the 5e version of Midderlands to the Swords and Wizardry version?
So I think in terms of feel, and certainly in terms of story, it is as little different as I could make it. There's a few new things. You know, we added in some subclasses for the cleric. We added in a treatment for how standard races can be modified in 5e. So the elves, the dwarves, how they are in the Midlands as opposed to how they are sort of in typical WotC land. And but it is interesting because there were some things that I was writing up that the language is a little heavier in 5e. Like there's sentences that you sort of have to use in order to get the rules across, and they do change the tone of what you're reading. You know, so in Swords and Wizardry, you can write that there's a secret door, and you just sort of carry on, because Swords and Wizardry has a built-in single mechanic for secret door finding. Whereas in 5e, you have to write there's a secret door. It can be found with a DC 15, a successful DC 15 Wisdom Perception check. And reading the mechanics in the middle of reading the description or reading the story changes, in my mind, it changes how you feel about what you're reading. And the other thing is that Midderlands, in my mind, is a particularly I'll just say unbalanced. It's wacky. It's kind of gonzo. And gonzo is harder to do in 5e a little bit. And in fact, there was one thing that I failed. Like one of the few things I've been unable to translate. Midderlands has the bestiary, and in the bestiary there's all the creatures, and each creature has an NPC version. And then it also has a race class option, so that you could be a player character that's a short-horned rat dog or whatever, and there would be a sort of a race class that goes with it. So it'd be like playing a dwarf, and it has all the features, as you go up in level. These are your hit dice, this is your saving throw, blah blah blah. I could not for the life of me figure out how to make that work in 5e without taking up way too many pages and without things just blowing up. Part of it's the fact that 5e obviously separates race and class, so there's that initial hurdle of, well, is it a rat dog or is it whatever we called the class that the rat dog is? And I don't even remember. And then what happens now? I have to think about what happens if a dragonborn wants to be the class that the rat dog is, or maybe we're playing it the other way. What happens if the rat dog wants to be a paladin? And I couldn't do it. Like I talked to Glenn. We talked back and forth a bunch of times, and I said, look, we're just gonna ditch this because I can't figure out how to make it work in 5e without making a 50-page book that's simply new classes or new races for the Midderlands.
That's interesting.
So that lack of shorthand. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
That kind of falls into one of the questions I was considering. Like, someone told me, this might have been 2 years ago, that they felt like certain industry companies were good at converting to 5e and some aren't. What do you think about that? Is there like a right way to convert and a wrong way to convert? How do you feel about? Have you learned since all the conversions you've done from then to now?
I feel that I'm much better than I used to be. I will say that there is a right way for a given publisher. So, for example, I do things differently for Frog God than I do for Greg Gillespie, and I do things differently for Greg Gillespie than I do. So I do other things for Glenn. I've worked with him on some other stuff, and because they have a feel that they're going for, and the people that are buying their works are expecting a certain type of product, that I feel that my job is to try to do the translation to hit that note, whatever it is. So for Frog God, I generally am doing a fairly WotC-esque, for lack of a better word, 5e translation. In other words, I'm using the mechanics, I'm using the SRD language, and it's a pretty, it looks like 5e, it feels like 5e. Greg absolutely does not want that, right? His crowd, the people buying those adventures, in his mind, are whatever version they're playing, they think of themselves as old school players, and he wants this book to still feel and look like a zero edition, a first edition book. And so I do a different 5e translation, and I think it's similar if people think about foreign language translation, that you could say, is there a right way or a wrong way to convert from French to English? And of course the answer is yes, there are wrong ways, but there are a lot of right ways. And I think finding the right one to match the author's goal is really the challenge.
Yeah, so how could you go into that deeper? What are the differences, I guess, then? Like, I mean, I'm pretty familiar with Barrow Maze, but you did Caverns of Archaea. I have it, but I'm not super familiar with it. What is the difference, I guess? How do you do it differently?
Well, so for example, it's weird to talk about classic 5e, but in sort of median 5e, the popular 5e, a kobold is a kobold is a kobold, right? It has this weapon, it has this hit points, whatever it is. Greg did the work in his original version, Labyrinth Lord, I think, of rolling hit points and rolling weapons and rolling armor for every single damn monster in his mega dungeon. So for the 386 orcs in or goblins and whatever it is, they each have a thing rolled up for them. And that you're not going to make stat blocks, obviously, for that many creatures. So one of the tricks was trying to come up with, how can I represent the what he's trying to do, which is make all of those creatures feel different. You know, that sometimes they have daggers and spears, and sometimes they have tennis rackets, and sometimes they have magic armor. How can I easily get that into his into 5e? And he also, I think, thinks it's important to have a very compact, information dense presentation of the material. And so which 5e is not. 5e, so Pathfinder is a pretty dense presentation. There's a lot of abbreviations, a lot of shortcuts. But 5e, in the sort of median 5e language, everything is spelled out. They use full sentences. There's not a lot of parenthetical notes. There's not a lot of there's not a lot of shorthand. It's designed to be read as opposed to computed or translated or whatever. And it takes up more space. It takes up more mental space in some ways. And I think that so I didn't do that. You know, I compressed things. I came up with ways to communicate the 5e information in a compressed format that felt to me like what he seemed to be doing with the Labyrinth Lord format.
That's awesome. Shout out to
which is good, because otherwise the book would be twice as long.
Yeah, no kidding.
Sorry, what?
I said shout out to Professor Gillespie. We love
Absolutely.
that guy. So I heard through the grapevine that they felt like early Frog God game conversions to 5e were kind of, phoned in. Would you consider this one phoned in, or would you say, hell no? I mean, this has the Monkey Blood seal of approval.
I don't phone things in. I think one of the things you're going to ask me later, so I'm going to tell you now, that one of the things I am trying to push for is quality. I'm not saying there is a right answer, but that whatever we put down, I want there to be a reason that that's what we put down, that we thought about this and this is why we're where we're at. So I think there's a couple of things about early 5e material from Frog God and probably from other publishers. One of them is legal, and that is that, remember, the SRD actually came out quite a while after the fact. Mm-hmm. And so we didn't know, I wasn't part of Frog God yet, but we didn't know what we could do. Yeah. And so we were doing things, we intentionally were not modeling stuff after what WotC was doing, because, you know, we didn't know if the whole 5e thing was going to get, the plug was going to get pulled, and, you know, they were going to go after anyone who put any 5e product out. We had no idea. But the other piece is that we also didn't know 5e that well. I mean, it takes a while to really learn a system, and I'm still learning. And I do look at some of the older stuff I did, and even though I wouldn't say I phoned it in then, because I was trying hard, but I definitely screwed up. I mean, I've learned a lot of things from a lot of good people about how the system works, what's going on under the hood, and of course, as you know, there are a lot of gamers that spend an awful lot of their brain power digging deep into whatever their favorite system is or their favorite setting. And there's people that know the Frog God setting way better than the authors.
That doesn't surprise me. I know a lot of those authors.
Yeah, well, there's that too. Yeah, I was really talking about the fans, but we could talk about the authors too.
And you know what? I phoned in may not even be accurate, and it could have been some stuff that people were putting on DM's Guild that came from like someone, Joe Blow or Jay Murphy, helping to do a conversion for A1 or something, you know, Slave Pits of the Undercity. I don't even remember, so no offense to any Frog God game guys. No,
and I think, I mean, we look at some of our stuff, and there's some crap that we have done. I mean, it always has. I mean, yeah, some of our early 5e stuff is rough.
So that is good to know. So all you 5e players out there listening, go check it out. So I got one more question about this before we move on. All right, so this is actually kind of maybe a critique on the Midderlands, but I've heard people say that they love it and they love the feel of it, they love the aesthetic of it, but they don't know how to run it because it doesn't necessarily have the adventures like Lesser Gnome had or like other settings have that kind of give you some examples and what to go with. So a two-part question. How would you use 5e or would you use Swords and Wizardry, and what are you going to write adventures for Midderlands in 5e, or how would you run it if you were going to?
So the Midderlands book has an adventure in it, and that adventure has been translated into 5e. So the book will have an adventure in it. I have run that adventure in Swords and Wizardry and in 5e. Glenn has produced The Chewer of Fingers, and I recently, that one kickstarted, I think the Kickstarter finished a month ago. I'm actually expecting a copy of it relatively soon, I think. I also ran a playtest of The Bats of St. Albans, and both of those, St. Albans is not available yet. Chewer of Fingers will be available on Monkey Blood's site. He also produces Midderzine, which has, I think he's on volume 5 or 6 maybe, which has sort of Swords and Wizardry, has some little adventurelets and some, creatures and some magic items, the usual thing that a old school zine has. So there are adventures out there. And the Midderlands book, though, is intentionally, as Glenn says, a book of gaming juice. It is a book it has a lot of hooks, it has a lot of ideas, it has a lot of people and places. It's a place to put, I think, your kind of campaign, an emergent story campaign, where you put the people down and you start making stuff happen. When I was running the playtest of The Bats of St. Albans, I was running with a crew, and we knew we were just doing a playtest. We had a limited amount of time. I don't remember, 5 or 6 sessions or something like that. But it was really frustrating because there were so many things that the party discovered during that adventure which got my brain spinning and got their brain spinning, and where they're asking questions. And had that been the start of a campaign, we would have... There we go. We would have been writing, I would have started writing stuff to sort of move us forward. Sorry, the Discord thing just shut down on me.
Go ahead. They can still hear you.
Okay, yeah, that's what I figured.
We'll edit this out, which will edit it out. So.
But there was all the, all these stories to be that kept cropping up that I was really excited to, to start writing for that campaign, not necessarily writing to publish. So I think that's really the goal of this, is to have the one starter adventure, and even that starter adventure that's in the Midderlands has 2 or 3 pretty solid threads that you could pull on, and I think a lot of parties would pull on, where they're sort of saying, that was a weird thing that happened while we were doing this other thing. I'd be interested in figuring that out. Or these were some people we pissed off while we were solving this other problem. I bet they're going to come after us, or we're going to go after them. It was more of an improv, or a sort of improv style setting. It's a setting guide. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. It's a book full of juice, like he would say.
Yep.
And that's awesome, and I really appreciate your answer. You can go ahead and try and get your Discord going again, and it'll fix itself. So don't worry about that. And we can still hear you everywhere, so that's the main thing. Not to say anything about your looks, Edwin, but you know what I'm saying. All right. All right, so I think we are getting close to the end of our 40 minutes already, so I hope you got in everything that you wanted to. But one last question, a new segment of the show. You choose Legacy in the old school or Epitaph in the old school?
I'm going to go for a legacy of quality. That's what I'm doing.
Nice.
I thought about an epitaph about semicolons versus colons, but I just didn't want to go there.
Especially with cancer and everything.
Exactly. It just didn't seem right.
It just confuses everything. All right, so we're going to put you down for that. And I mean, you pretty much went into it, but you're almost really... You're really talking about these translations, which I like that term better than conversion. But are you planning on writing anything of your own content, or are you just a translator now?
So I will I do have actually some things that I'm working on. I have an adventure. I think did you play in Dwarven Fiasco?
I think that's the one that I play tested that we were talking about earlier at GaryCon on a Sunday.
Yeah, that goes up. It's in a cliff and it's a bunch of dwarves. So that one is. I'm working on finishing that up for publication. There's a follow-on to that takes place in the same area of the Whisper and Venom world that I have the outline for and that I've actually run, but I haven't written. So there is definitely some author-y stuff that I'm working on, but I'm pretty slow on that because I'm doing so much editing, project management, and 5e stuff. What I've actually really enjoyed recently is I've had the chance to work with some authors on developing new adventures. And that's been super fun to be the editor, not the like proofreading editor, but the editor who's talking about story and about how is it gameable, making sure that the scenario is something that a GM can pick up and use and that somebody can enjoy reading and that the players will enjoy playing, talking about it from a game standpoint, and also a story, story continuity, and that's been super fun too.
How much you get paid for that?
Asking
for a friend.
Depends how well it sells.
All right, so I'm going to contact you about some stuff that I need to get off of my computer and published. So
okay,
that would be fun. There are also some great editors, like the people that did a lot of mothership stuff. They do editing like you're talking about, not just proofreading like some people say is editing, but like editing for content, gameability, connection, story, all that stuff. Like my buddy Jared and the Discourse lady from Twitter, who I can't think of what their name is right now, but anyhow, I really like to hear you say that. Is your Discord back on yet? It is.
Yeah. Yep.
So we can actually go back to the two of us and not just have everyone looking at me. Awesome. All right, so thank you so much. Like I said, we're getting close, so I want to do some appreciation to the fans and patrons of Hobbs and Friends. I always give 3 shout outs, and usually I roll them randomly. But, I've had a lot of people recently wanting to support the show and jumping out on that, and I really want to thank them for that. That includes Mike Hess, so you're familiar with him from our Call of Cthulhu game. So
heard of him.
Thank you, Mike, for being a patron. Ron Blessing recently joined, another podcaster. I don't know if you guys know him. He's a Savage Worlds guy and wanted to play some low fantasy gaming, and so we're going to get him into some games. And then Mark Grehan, I don't know if that's how you pronounce his name. He won the big Beetle and Grimm Eberron box set from the Dungeon Musings raffle that I ran a game for and was part of in a lot of the sessions. So congratulations to Mark, and hey, thanks for sharing the wealth and supporting Hobbs and Friends. I really feel like the patron supports all the stuff that I do. It's helped support all the games that I run, the Discord, this Twitch, all the podcasts that I do. Pretty much most of the support comes through the Patreon, and I really appreciate all those guys. So thank you so much. I do know that Edwin Nagy is a patron of Gaming and BS, but I don't think he is a Hobbs and Friends. I don't know why. I can't figure it out.
If it makes you feel better, I'm not actually currently a patron of Gaming and BS either.
In your eye, cool Dirk. Anyway,
no, I move my Patreon dollars around from podcast to podcast as the whim occurs.
I can't blame you for that, and I hope you know I'm just messing with you. I totally understand.
I do.
How people how it changes. Like you feel like supporting someone, and then you want to support someone else, but you got to just think about what you're doing financially, especially in these trying times. So, like I say, I super appreciate everyone. If anyone wants to become a patron of Hobbs and Friends, head over to www.patreon.com/OSRN Hobbs. It's right on the hat, brothers. All right, and also the music for Random Screed and Hobbs and Friends almost solely comes from TJ Drennan. Check out his Patreon if you're doing a podcast and want some bumpers or music or anything like that, because he is fantastic. You got something you want to pimp there, Edwin? You look like you want to say something.
No, I'm just waiting for the exciting music.
Oh, at the end. We'll play it at the end. The whole countdown.
Okay.
You probably can't hear it because it goes through the Twitch and then it gets
That's what I was
saved
figuring.
somewhere else. Yeah. All right. So if someone wanted to contact you, Edwin, about your greenish hue, how would they contact you?
It's a mighty good question. I guess by email, because I'm old-fashioned like that.
Kind of.
enn.in.me@lessergnome.com.
Nice. Check that out, guys.
Yeah.
You can find me at HNF Hobbs at hobbsandfriends.com. I'm on the Twitters at OSRN Hobbs, or my personal account is at Hobbs Indeed. Those two things kind of flush back and forth anyway. We got a Hobbs and Friends page on the Facebook, and check me out at the Gamerhood Discord. I'd really like to build that community, so if you only get one thing from this episode, go get on Discord, go find the Gamerhood, and check it out. And
Hey, you can find me there. I'm in the
Yes.
Gamerhood.
he's in the Gamerhood. Other than that, I think we should mic drop this thing. Any last words, Edwin?
I got none. Take it away.
All right, boys. It's better to burn out than to fade away. All right, my man. So we're uploading now, and we can go to the post show, which we did. I don't know if you know, but Cool Dirk is a person that you know, and you may know that by this question. Mr. Edwin Nagy, what is your favorite RPG podcast that rhymes with aiming Sanji stress?
Wow, that's real stressful.
Do I have to say it again?
Yeah, definitely.
Would you like to repeat the question, please? Cool Dirk is Sean P. Kelly in the Twitch.
I figured, yeah, he is cool.
Yeah, he's talking manure on there. We also got Mark from Mark. I just forgot. Is it Clover or Glover? No, I don't even remember. I think it's Clover. Anyway, Mark is from. He's the guy who runs the Creative Mountain Games. He's always taking pictures at GaryCon.
Okay, yep.
I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. I saw David Bresson was on here. Gabriel from Uruguay, which is in Spain, was on here, and you were on Hobbs and Friends number 24, by the way.
I was close.
I see you were confused about the whole Spain thing because Uruguay really isn't in Spain. That's just an old gag between Gabriel and I.
I figured, yeah.
Captain Patriot was on here, helping us with some sound tests earlier, and Spell Sword Studios, who is actually the author of Evils of Ilmire. So, and I think we're going to have him on Hobbs and Friends pretty soon. He keeps saying next month, but I think he's now fulfilled his Kickstarter completely. So I was looking around to see if I could find the book. Edwin,
Yes.
entertain people for a second.
All right. Well, I'm going to just send you all over to our Midderlands Geek. So I'm not actually looking at the stream, so I can't answer your questions if you're chatting at me. But I will send you over to the Midderlands Kickstarter page, damn it, to go and check it out, because I am still super stoked about this book that's coming out, and I'm really stoked about the collector's edition with the black cover, because I think that is going to look something sweet. I don't know if I should tell you this secret story, though, about Hobbs, because about a month... sorry, I guess never mind. Anyway, so... well, he doesn't have his headphones on yet, so I guess never mind. Okay, so anyway, yep. I was just
talking about me while I was gone, or what?
Nope, wouldn't dream of it.
Yeah, I wonder. That'll be curious. I would say that I will listen back, but I probably don't.
Probably won't.
Anyway, I couldn't find it, Zach. Sorry, my man, but we'll all have to find out more about the Evils of Ilmire when we have Zach on the show.
That'll be awesome.
It will be. I really want to talk to him about like the play tests, like after you run a whole campaign based on a product, what happens differently from how other people run it. You know, like how are the play tests? How did you think about it when you wrote it? That sort of thing. I just think would be fascinating to talk about.
Yeah, no, I think there's some cool stuff there of and the different styles of playtest. Yeah, whether you do a blind taste test, blind play test, where you just give them the thing and say, "Hey, run this for me and give me some feedback," or "Run this for me and let me know about this particular thing." When Glenn asked me to run, I don't know if he asked me. He put out an offer saying, "Hey, anyone want to play test this?" And I said, "Sure, I'll run St. Albans." And he was curious about the falling rules. He was wondering if they were too deadly, and we didn't have anybody fall. I was like, I can't. I'm sorry. The one specific thing you wanted me to look at. I have all this other feedback for you, and here it is. But this one specific thing, I got nothing.
How do you? I think it was up to you to just make somebody fall. Then, right? I mean, like a big wind comes up, or.
Well, no, it was just that I don't know if I telegraphed it. I don't think so. I think it was just a cautious group of old school gamers that made sure that they were not going to fall. I mean, they saw a ladder and they tied it off, and there was a creature nearby that they thought they'd be fighting. Like, I back into the corner, and I was like, I mean, I could have forced it obviously, but it didn't feel organic.
All right, well, and that's the thing.
Really, yeah.
That's one of the things I actually struggle with during play testing is how much is it that we still supposed to have fun, or how much is it like this exercise to really nail down this product?
Right. Well, and we're not getting paid, so in my mind it was about having fun, and I'll do the extra work as a volunteer for him to actually think about, to critique it, but I was running a game for people who were there to have fun, and I was going to have fun. And I did the same thing. I ran the Chewer of Fingers before it went out, and again I was running that as, I think that might have been part of Frog God Games Day, or it might have been one of the other online cons that's happened recently. But my priority there was a good gaming experience for the players, and then my second piece was feedback to the author.
Right, and I mean, and that makes sense to me. That's a very, very good way to think about it. All right, trying to see if we got all the files. Oh yeah, it looks like we did. I think all the files.
Mine says recording complete.
Yep.
At 43:19.
Perfect.
Well, under the limit. I had my students today I had them give presentations, and there were 5 groups, and each group of 5 students had to give a 6-minute presentation, and that's a tough thing to do. I mean, 6 minutes goes by. You've introduced yourself, and your 6 minutes is up pretty much.
Yeah.
So it's always a fun exercise for them. It's just like, how tight can we get this?
Yeah, I do. I'm in a networking group called Business Networking International, and every week you do a 60-second presentation. And
wow.
Honestly, I mean, you're paying money for the other people in this group to be able to get you referrals, right? Not just from them, but like they're people they know, or their customers, and then their customers' customers. So the better a job you do at your pitch for your 60-second pitch, the better they're going to be able to do for you. And then you also do a 10-minute,
somebody who wants more information, and it's right. Someone who's actively seeking you out is going to look at the 10 minutes, whereas somebody that you're pushing to would look at the 60-second thing if you're lucky. Well,
and then it's only this group, which we have almost 40 people in the group, but you got to try and they're all even now it's harder because it's online. It used to be we'd have to be together for an hour and a half in a meeting, but now you're online, and who the hell's paying attention to anybody? Who knows what they're doing? They might not even have pants on, just like you right now, Edwin.
It's true. I might not.
All right. Oh boy, don't stand up. You actually have a nice button down. It's like you're working today or something.
I am. I'm still at work.
All right. I got another question from Cool Dirk. Favorite project you've worked on?
Favorite project?
Yeah. I missed the R there when I said that, didn't I? Favorite
project. I wasn't sure if he was making a joke with like if it was a podject, like my favorite podcast project.
No, it was
or
project.
Just my favorite project.
Yeah, favorite project.
Favorite project I have worked on. It depends.
Oh God.
Obviously. Wow. I think it's probably is Death and Taxes, because Zach and I really allowed ourselves the time and the luxury to chew on every single word and every single bit of that adventure and, polish it and change it. And we were not in a hurry. We decided for that one that we were going to do what we wanted to do and make it the best thing we could do and then get it out. And so not being on a strict timeline, I think, when I go back in there and I see the complexity of, the sort of cross references and they're sort of like Easter eggs, but they're internal, they're just Easter eggs to themselves, I guess. That there's something really fun about that. And I think that's still, and also it was a box set with, minis and all kinds of cool shit. But that might be the one that's the most, it's got the most of me in it.
Wow, that's interesting. That was like the first one, right? That was the first one, because Whisper and Venom was the second one.
Other way around. Whisper and Venom was the first one that he did with John, and I was actually a backer on that, and I sent him some comments on the PDF before it went to print, and so that actually started our relationship, was me sending him some story edits, and then when Death and Taxes, when he was working on that, he brought me in as a co-author on that.
Yeah, that was pretty fun. That's the 5e game you ran for us, was in that setting, right?
Yes. Yep.
Me, Bird, Jose, and then one of your other players.
I think so. Yeah, that was first. Did I do Run First Sentinel for you guys with that tower?
I don't know. I don't think so.
There was a tower on top of a mountain. Maybe not. But you were definitely in. You went up to the monastery.
Yeah. At the end, we jumped through that portal.
Yep. Yep.
I thought that was Death and Taxes?
No, that's Whisper and Venom.
Okay.
No, that's Whisper and Venom.
Right.
Yeah, so that one is so that's not, I don't have any authorship in that. But I do like it. I mean, that's also a fun project, and I am looking forward to finishing up the 5e translation on that, because it is a fun adventure.
I think I was telling someone about that story of how one of the characters died by being eaten by a giant toad, and and we had said, and somehow you had ran it wrong, or I just explained it wrong or something. Someone told me that it wasn't that easy to die from being eaten by a giant toad because of this, and this, and I was like, I don't know, I just don't know the rules that well.
Well, that's one of the things, right? So if the author wants it to be easy to be killed by being eaten by a giant toad, then I'm going to make some new mechanic in 5e to make it. And that's one of the things that we still, I mean, Frog God still tries to make the adventures fairly fatal. And so I do find myself pushing, I'm using the mechanics, but I'm pushing them a little harder in order to make sure that they're still challenging, deadly adventures, that some of the fights you have to run away from and or use clever tactics. It's not, you can't do all this stuff just face on, toe-to-toe combat.
And that's kind of what 5e is most of the time. So that's an interesting it's an interesting angle. So
yeah,
I got one last question for you. What the hell does N in me stand for?
So the second and third part are in Maine, which is where I'm at.
Yeah.
And the first part's my initials.
Yeah, I figured out that part, but I didn't know what the main part was. All right, man. We've been at this for about an hour and 15 minutes, let alone the half hour of jibber jabbering
2 hours.
Time. Yeah, exactly. So I should let you go, and
cool.
I'm going to play the music, and all you guys out there in chat, thanks again for hanging out this long, and if not before, I will see you on Saturday, 1 p.m. Central for the Midlands. So let's take us out, TJ.
It's a beautiful day in the game, oh, a beautiful day for my gamers. Would you be one? Could you be one? It's out about thunder, but don't despair. This howling's breeding great robbers. Would you be one? Could you be one? an 80% mortality rate. It works for you. For a few bucks a month you can sign up and have the Hobbs kill you. So let's make the most of another Sunday. Brew up some coffee and play it my way. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? Won't you be my gamers? Won't you be? Won't you please, please, won't you be my gamers?